Harry Baldock here, editor at Total Telecom. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by a very special guest, the winner of Technologist of the Year at this year's World Communication Awards, Ericsson's CTO Group Function Technologies and Architectures, Mallik Tatipamula. Mallik, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Harry. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Before we dive into the interview properly, first things first, how does it feel to win this award and what does that mean for you?
I'm really thrilled. I'm excited about winning this award. It is a great testimonial for our technology leadership that we have been driving for the last 3 years in 5G. And especially the world is moving towards sort of a convergence of 5G, edge compute, and AI. And this is a great testimonial for our leadership in emergence of 5G.
So can you give us a little bit of history about your career path? What really inspired you to enter this industry?
Absolutely. So, when I was a kid, my grandfather used to say, I should work in Bell Labs. That's a kind of a plant he's put in. So since then, I really wanted to be a telecommunications engineer because I was curious in knowing how telephone works. Those days, we used to wait for 10 years to get a new telephone connection back in India. So that triggered me to pursue telecommunications. So I did my undergrad, master's, PhD all in telecommunications, then worked for the last 30 years in the industry. So I've seen 3 major transitions that telecommunication industry has gone through: narrowband to broadband, then later on to enhanced mobile broadband with 4G, driven by SDN and FE. Now we are looking at extending further with 5G into industrial IoT verticals.
So what exactly does your current role at Ericsson entail? I realize obviously you're in California, in Silicon Valley. What's the kind of day-to-day look like for you?
Absolutely. So my current role is to really look at the technology trends and their implication to our strategy. So in that regard, my day-to-day job is to really look at what next, in terms of defining our Ericsson strategy and innovation for continued growth and technology leadership for us. So for me, I work with a great team here in Silicon Valley, looking at how these technologies are coming together and what sort of exponential innovation that can be made, and continue to keep us ahead of the competition and also addressing customers to extend our total availability market size.
Leads quite nicely to my next question, actually, which is about the projects you're currently working on and what topics you're particularly excited about in the industry right now.
Absolutely. So I'm really excited about what 5G is bringing to the table. 3G and 4G essentially brought us the integration of IP, Internet Protocol, with the mobile communication networks. Now 5G is really bringing a different type of integration, so-called convergence of 5G, edge compute, and AI. I call it as convergence of connectivity, compute, and control theory. So that is a convergence really changing the way we architect the networks. So that is driving 3 types of transformations in the industry. First one is technology transformation. We are seeing confluence of these technologies coming together for the first time. SDN, NFV, AI, machine learning, edge compute, security, 5G and IoT. How all these technologies are going to come together to address Industry 4.0. That's a technology transformation. The second transformation that we are seeing is many players are now converging on 5G as an open innovation platform. Telcos, cloud providers, industrial verticals, enterprise media players. You can see all of them are now converging on 5G as an open innovation platform. So that brings up an interesting question. What are the emerging service and business models are going to be when you have multiple players converging, and how that value chain looks like? And what are the emerging go-to-market models? So these are the very interesting challenges, both from technology/architectural perspective, as well as service and business model perspective.
What do you consider to be the highlight of your career so far, if you had to pick one moment?
You know, my first one when I was at IIT Chennai. I just graduated from IIT Chennai and then started working there. That was my first job. So I happened to meet with Professor William Gambling visiting IIT Madras. So now it's called IIT Chennai. He is a father of optical amplifiers from University of Southampton. That's a big moment for me, meeting someone of his caliber, having such a great dialogue with him, such a humble person. That really shaped me up and say one day I want to be like Professor Gambler.
I guess my final question for you, and you've already touched on it in terms of how 5G is a real transition from what 4G was, is what is your vision for the telecoms industry in the next 5 years? What do you think are going to be the biggest changes?
We are seeing the convergence of physical and digital world. That physical and digital world is really basis for digital transformation. And especially during post-COVID-19 times, we need to accelerate the digital transformation across the industries. So that open innovation across the industry is extremely critical to accelerate that innovation for social good. Open innovation across industries means across connectivity, compute, applications, industrial verticals. You take the entire industry verticals and see how we can accelerate that open innovation for social good. I think that is the essence of next 5 years. That's triggered by COVID-19. That's making all of us to think and say how, as key players in the industry, across this value chain, to help accelerate the innovation across life sciences, medical sciences, farming, agriculture, manufacturing, you name it. How do we accelerate for social good? I think that's a key aspect of open innovation for next 5 to 10 years that's going to trigger exponential innovation.
Certainly a very fascinating time to be in the industry. Mallik, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Harry. It's my pleasure.